Welcome back to the show. There's a possibility your name is on the list of those that the state owes unclaimed property. It wasn't easy for us to get that list from the state, but we kept asking and learned they legally had to turn it over. Then we started reaching out to get your money back where it belongs. Doug Hosser got a nice surprise when CBS 46 showed up at his front door in Alpharetta to tell him about some unclaimed property being held at the Georgia Department of Revenue. It's something you didn't know about until we got a hold of you, right?
That's exactly true. It was kind of a surprise. It's kind of like winning the lottery at that amount of money. There was over $500 from Comcast Cable and another $100 from United Parcel.
Hosser and his partner plan to use their newfound cash to pay off some bills.
We were talking just before we got this call of how are we going to do the finances and what are we going to cut back on, and now this will go a long way to helping us out.
In pursuit of helping others out, we found unclaimed property belonging to Lance Lurie in Atlanta.
Well, I think it was great that y'all called me, and I appreciate it.
Lurie couldn't believe he was owed money. After all, he's lived in the same home for more than 21 years, and no one from the state ever told him that he had unclaimed property.
I don't think they looked for me.
Lurie is getting back $138 of his own money, mostly from an old Comcast account, plus 6 shares of old stock.
Well, I'm glad to get it back. It belongs to me, and I'm certainly wanting these shares of stock back to see what they are.
While Lurie was searching for his unclaimed property, he decided to type in some coworkers' names.
You have unclaimed property with the state of Georgia.
Sue Protzman learned she was owed $86. Hey, how are you?
Good.
You excited about this money? Last but not least, the Cabrera family got a big treat when we showed up at their home in Marietta.
The exact amount is $954.06. They come after you when you owe money. They don't wait. But we have to wait for our money to get money back from 2004.
It turns out the family lost track of the money when they moved to a new home. It comes from old accounts with NCR Corp, Wells Fargo, and Comcast. The Cabreras plan to use it to pay off some medical bills that they incurred last year.
No one ever calls you to tell you that there's money out there for you. So we're very grateful to CBS for contacting us and making that, that investigation known, and more people should know about this.
All right, so are you one of the 224,000 people owed money by the state of Georgia? Well, as you saw, Migdalia is, right?
Of course.
Almost $1,000.
Yes, and it was a nice surprise.
And so have you received the check?
Of course not.
Of course not. As we talked about here, a very slow process. And tell us where you are in that process of getting the money.
Well, we completed the form that was sent to us, and it had to be notarized, and we mailed it back, and it takes about another 12 weeks, supposedly, to receive it. So we're waiting patiently.
So, and how many weeks have passed in that 12-week span? Do you know?
3.
Okay. So you got a little more waiting to do.
Of course, of course.
Have you changed your mind on what you plan to do with the money? Do you plan to splurge a little? I know you said medical bills are going to help pay that off, but...
No, we're still going to use it for medical bills. Again, the co-payments, and sometimes insurance doesn't pay for certain services. So, we've already spent that money a couple of times over, to be honest. So it's still going to go for the medical bills.
And you had no idea that this belonged to you until we made a phone call to you.
Exactly. It's not something that is made readily unknown to us. They could have, we fill income taxes every year. So the address is there. So they could have contacted us anytime. So I don't understand why we weren't.
Your point in that story, they would come after us if we owed money, but when they owe us money or owe you money, and you should be receiving something, it's like nothing. It's
true, because if you look at it, how many times, if you owe money, it's quick. You get that letter in the mail says, oh, you underpaid us, you owe us this amount. So when you have stocks and you pay the interest and you overpay them, you're like, okay, so if I overpaid, don't you think we would get that money back just as quickly, as if, we had to owe them the money?
Is this disappointing to you? I know you've lived in other states besides Georgia. And so do you think that Georgia is just dropping the ball or could do more? Or does it make it a priority? I'm wondering what your opinion is on that.
Well, it's funny because after we had spoken, I had spoken to my mother. My mother lives in New York. And she says, that's all over the news in New York. And people are like readily, contacting and going on the websites. And it's something that people really are looking forward because they need money. You know, at this time of the economy, you could always use a little bit extra money, especially money that you weren't thinking about. So she says, I don't understand why, you know, the state of Georgia is kind of lagging in that aspect, because they should let everyone know, you know, that this is money that's there, and just go on the website. And it should be much more efficient. Instead of, you know, having to wait to have a form sent to you, it should be like, if you go on the website, you know, complete the form and then just submit it like everything else, technology. But we're a little behind here in Georgia.
Behind the 8 ball on this. You know, in going on that list too and finding your name and other individuals' names, I also found many businesses that are owed unclaimed property, and even nonprofit organizations that are owed money that could really benefit. And everybody that is on that list is owed at least $50. We know that. But, you know, some of these organizations that are nonprofit organizations, whether it's a Humane Society or the Lupus Foundation or something like that, or the American Cancer Society, these are all organizations that really could benefit. It doesn't matter how much money it is.
Exactly, because they're basically depending on, you know, people to help them in terms of supporting their organizations, and money that really they don't have to spend out for extra things like advertising or anything like that. So why not, you know, go the extra route and help those organizations and make sure that they have their funds returned to them.
Migdalia, great job. Please give your family my best.
Thank you.
And we're going to tell you after this break how you can keep your property from falling into the unclaimed category. We'll have a few tips for you coming up right after the break.